In Hollywood, sports, music, comedy, and media, there's one rule. Stay on message, don't ask questions, and don't you dare step out of line. Because the second you do, the mob comes after you. But every once in a while, someone has the stones to say no. If someone in 2016 told you that by 2026, Nicki Minaj would be standing at a podium saying,
I am probably the president's #1 fan,
they would have told you to lay off the drugs. For years, Nicki was one of the biggest names in music, one of the most successful female rappers ever. But politically, she was hard to pin down. She had criticized Trump in the past, and she was definitely seen as left-leaning. And then came 2021. On September 13th, during the vaccine madness, Nicki posted a tweet that made the whole system lose its mind. She said her cousin in Trinidad wouldn't get the vaccine because his friend allegedly got the shot, had swollen testicles, and his fiance called off the wedding. For a few days, the whole world was talking about Nicki Minaj and her cousin's friend's testicles, which is a sentence nobody thought they'd ever hear in American politics. But the part that mattered wasn't really the medical claim, it was what she told her fans. She told them to pray, to think for themselves, and to not be bullied. That was the real crime, because during that time, celebrities were supposed to say one thing: get the shot, don't ask questions. And Nicki didn't do that. Within days, the UK's chief medical officer said she should
be ashamed,
while Trinidad's health minister publicly debunked her claim.
As we stand now, there is absolutely no reported such side effect or adverse event of testicular swelling in Trinidad, or I dare say, Dr. Hines, anywhere else. None that we know of anywhere else in the world.
But instead of crawling back and begging for forgiveness, she remembered it for years. Fast forward to July 8th, 2025. Nicki posted on X, "Democrats attacked me over my cousin's balls." Remember? As ridiculous as that whole thing was, it put Nicki at odds with the left. And over time, she started moving closer to President Trump. One major turning point came when she reposted a Truth Social post from Trump, bringing attention to the Christian persecution happening in Nigeria. Nicki wrote, "Thank you to the president and his team for taking this seriously. God bless every persecuted Christian. Let's remember to lift them up in prayer." And then on December 21st, 2025, Nicki showed up as a surprise guest at Turning Point USA's America Fest in Phoenix.
I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president. He has, I don't know if he even knows this, but he's given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys and to win.
Then on January 28th, 2026, it got even bigger. Nicki walked into the official U.S. Treasury Trump Account Summit in Washington, D.C. She stood at the podium alongside President Trump and told the crowd,
"The hate or what people have to say, it does not affect me at all. It actually motivates me to support him more. And it's going to motivate all of us to support him more. We're not going to let them get away with bullying him and, the smear campaigns. It's not going to work."
She held Trump's hand on stage, and she pledged hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants to help fans open Trump accounts. 3 days later, the Grammy Awards happened, and Nicki wasn't there. So Trevor Noah used his opening monologue to bash her with all of Hollywood watching.
Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues.
Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me.
Nicki's response was immediate and unhinged in the best possible way. She went on X and attacked Trevor Noah, saying he was secretly closeted. Then on February 3rd, 2026, Nicki explained her shift on the Katie Miller podcast, saying,
"Religious freedom is something that's very important to me. But if I'm being honest, President Trump, yes. Because when I saw how he was being treated over and over and over, I just couldn't handle it. Because I felt that same, a lot of that bullying and the smear campaigns and all of the lying, I felt that had been done to me for so many years. And I was watching it in real time happen to someone else. And I didn't think he deserved it, and it made me think, I can't do this anymore."
In the end, Nicki Minaj was told to stay quiet. Instead, she picked a side, and it was not the side that Hollywood wanted. Before the mob came for J.K. Rowling, she was treated like royalty. She created Harry Potter, one of the biggest book series in human history. And for years, she was exactly the kind of person the left usually loved. Until she said the one thing modern progressives are not allowed to hear: sex is real. That was it. That was the great offense. In December 2019, Rowling publicly supported Maya Forstater, a woman who got in trouble for saying biological sex cannot be changed. She said, "Dress however you please, call yourself whatever you like, sleep with any consenting adult who will have you, live your best life in peace and security," but force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. Then on June 6, 2020, Rowling saw an article using the phrase "people who menstruate," and she mocked it. She basically said there used to be a word for that: women. That one statement lit the fuse. She followed up by explaining her view. If sex isn't real, same-sex attraction loses meaning. If sex isn't real, women lose the words to describe their own lives. Then, a few days later, she wrote a long essay. She talked about being a survivor of domestic abuse and sexual assault. She talked about women's spaces. She talked about safety. And for that, the mob treated her like a monster. On top of that, the same actors who became rich and famous from her world rushed to distance themselves. Daniel Radcliffe spoke out. Emma Watson spoke out. Rupert Grint spoke out. Eddie Redmayne criticized her. Activist groups piled on, and the media relentlessly attacked her. And suddenly, the woman who created one of the most beloved fictional worlds ever was being treated like public enemy number one. But Rowling did something most celebrities never do. She didn't apologize, and she kept making the same basic point: women exist, sex matters, and saying that is not hate. She also put her money behind the fight. Rowling donated more than 70,000 euros, roughly $90,000, to For Women Scotland, a campaign group challenging the Scottish government's definition of woman in law. Then came Scotland's hate crime law in 2024. Critics warned it could be used to silence people for stating basic truths about sex and gender. On April 1st, 2024, the very first day the law was in effect, she posted a long thread naming trans activists and using the words she believed were accurate. Then she basically dared the police to arrest her. "If what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of the new act," she said, "I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment." As a result, the police received many complaints. They reviewed it, and they took no action. She dared the government to come get her, and they blinked. On April 16, 2025, the United Kingdom Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the legal definition of woman under British equality law means biological sex. 5 judges, unanimous. The basic position Rowling had been attacked for defending, that biological sex matters in law, had just been backed by the highest court in the UK. And who brought the case, you might be wondering? For Women Scotland, that same group that Rowling helped fund. And where was Rowling when the ruling came down? On her super yacht in the Bahamas, cocktail in one hand, cigar in the other. She posted on X, "I love it when a plan comes together." And while all this was happening, while the mob was screaming for her to be erased, the Harry Potter television series was still moving forward. The same franchise they said she destroyed with her views. Still hers, still running, still valuable. Agree with her politics or not, Rowling had everything to lose, but she stood up for what she believed in, even with the possibility of being arrested. And for that, she has my respect. Dave Chappelle is not easy to cancel. People should have learned that years ago. This is a guy who walked away from a $50 million Comedy Central deal at the height of his career because he didn't like where things were going. So when activists decided they were going to scare Dave Chappelle into apologizing, they picked the wrong comedian. The big explosion came in October 2021 with his Netflix special, The Closer. In that special, Chappelle talked about transgender issues. He defended J.K. Rowling. He said,
"Gender is a fact. You have to look at it from a woman's perspective."
He joked about the LGBTQ community, and he told the story of his trans friend Daphne Dorman, a trans comedian who had publicly defended Chappelle, then unfortunately died by suicide in 2019. Chappelle and others have pointed to the backlash she received for standing by him as a part of the tragedy. Her own family even stood by Chappelle after the special, with her sister saying Daphne did not find his jokes rude, crude, off-putting, anything. She thought his jokes were funny. And Chappelle did what comedians are supposed to do. He stepped directly into the topic everyone else was afraid to touch. The reaction was instant. Activists were furious. The National Black Justice Coalition called for Netflix to remove his special. Netflix employees staged a walkout on October 20th, 2021, with about 150 people gathering outside the company's Hollywood offices. People were treating a couple of jokes like a national emergency.
The line is simple. Stop making things worse.
But Netflix did not fold. CEO Ted Sarandos defended the special in staff memos, saying it did not cross the line on hate and pointing to artistic freedom. And here's where the story gets good. Chappelle did not apologize. 2 days after the closer dropped, he performed a sold-out show at the Hollywood Bowl in front of a celebrity audience that included people like Brad Pitt. And he told the crowd, if this is what being canceled is about, I love it. That was the whole story right there. The mob wanted fear, but he gave them a punchline. By July 2022, the Emmy nominations dropped. The closer, the special they demanded be erased, was nominated for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. This would cause the second wave of outrage to erupt. That same month, a venue in Minneapolis called First Avenue canceled one of his shows hours before curtain. The tickets had sold out in 5 minutes. But First Avenue caved to social media pressure and posted an apology, saying it had lost sight of the impact and needed to keep its venue a safe place. So the show moved down the road to the Varsity Theater, and Chappelle performed anyway. After all that, Chappelle kept touring. He kept selling out shows, he kept releasing specials, including The Dreamer in 2023. And the activists who said his career was over had to watch him become even harder to touch. Now, as you probably know, Chappelle is not a Republican by any means. He has called out Republicans for weaponizing some of his jokes, and he doesn't like being used as a political mascot. And that's all good, because this was never about Chappelle joining a party. It was about whether comedians are still allowed to tell jokes without activists acting like HR managers. And Chappelle's answer was simple. Yes, he was allowed to speak his mind. Joe Rogan might be the clearest example of what happens when the mob runs into someone too big to cancel. Before the censorship war, Rogan was already huge. UFC commentator, subpar comedian, former Fear Factor host, and then the biggest podcaster on earth. The Joe Rogan Experience became the place where people could sit for 3 hours and actually talk. And to certain people, that became dangerous, because Rogan would talk to almost anyone. Doctors, comedians, fighters, politicians, scientists, left-wingers, right-wingers, people the media liked, people the media hated, and that was the whole appeal. Then COVID happened, and Rogan started questioning the approved script. He questioned vaccine mandates. He talked about ivermectin after he got COVID, and he hosted guests who challenged the official line, including Dr. Robert Malone, a virologist who had been banned from Twitter for spreading what the establishment called COVID misinformation. Suddenly, the same media that had spent years ignoring Rogan decided he was a public health threat. And here's the actual sequence, because the media always gets it backwards. On January 12th, 2022, a group of 270 doctors, scientists, and health professionals signed an open letter to Spotify demanding a misinformation policy, specifically targeting Rogan's Malone episode. But Spotify and Rogan both ignored it. 12 days later, Neil Young posted an open letter to his own record label demanding his music be removed from Spotify. They can have Rogan or Young, not both. Spotify removed Young's catalog 2 days later and said, "We regret Neil's decision." And then for some reason even the White House got involved. Press Secretary Jen Psaki stood at the podium and said the administration was working with media companies to combat misinformation following the Rogan controversy.
Disclaimer, it's a positive step, but we want every platform to continue doing more to call out mis and disinformation while also uplifting accurate information. Our hope is that all major tech platforms and all major news sources, for that matter, be responsible and be vigilant to ensure the American people have access to accurate information on something as significant as COVID-19. That certainly includes Spotify.
Just let that sink in. The government of the United States was publicly pressuring a private company over a podcast host. Then on February 5th came the second hit. India Arie posted a video compilation of Rogan using the N-word across old episodes from a 12-year span. The goal was obvious: make Rogan toxic on every front at the same time. But again, Spotify chose Rogan. And surprisingly, Rogan did respond to this one. On January 30th, he posted a nearly 10-minute Instagram video saying he was not trying to spread misinformation.
I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a person who sits down and talks to people and has conversations with them.
He said he would bring on more voices. He also apologized for the N-word clips, calling them the
most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly.
Some old episodes came down, but Rogan did not disappear. In fact, in February 2024, Spotify signed him again, a deal reportedly worth up to $250 million. And this time they made it non-exclusive, expanding his show back to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon. So the boycott that was supposed to end Joe Rogan ended with Joe Rogan getting richer and reaching more people than before. And then in March 2024, Neil Young quietly returned to Spotify justify, but no one really cared. Come October 2024, Donald Trump was sitting across from Rogan for nearly 3 hours, and right before the election, Rogan endorsed him. Once again, the media had to deal with the fact that the man they spent years trying to destroy was now interviewing the future president, reaching an audience they could only dream of. On January 20th, 2025, Rogan was seated near the front at the US Capitol as Trump was inaugurated President of the United States. Now, as a lot of you know, Rogan is not some loyal party guy. He still criticizes Trump loudly. He called Trump's Iran war insane. He accused the administration of gaslighting people on the Epstein files. He said,
A lot of people feel betrayed, right? And he ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
But here's the thing. Trump knows you don't burn Rogan, you keep him close. And Trump did exactly that on April 18th, 2026. Rogan showed up at the White House as Trump signed an executive order on psychedelic therapy for veterans, an issue Rogan had championed for years. Rogan told the room,
I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick.
Then Trump turned to the cameras and joked that Rogan is a
little bit more liberal than that's okay.
And that's Joe Rogan for you. He had the audience, he had the platform, and he wasn't reading their script. They tried to make Spotify choose, but Spotify chose Rogan, and Rogan walked away bigger than ever. Martina Navratilova might be one of the most important stories in this video because she breaks the whole narrative. She's not MAGA, she's not right-wing, she is a lesbian tennis legend who came out in 1981 and spent decades fighting for gay rights. Just decades later, the movement she helped build turned on her. Why, you might ask? Because she said,
women's toilets are for women.
That was the great crime. In late 2018, she got into a public debate on Twitter with transgender track cyclist Rachel McKinnon about whether trans women should compete against biological women. Martina said you can't just proclaim yourself a female and be able to compete against women. Then in February 2019, she published a column in the Sunday Times arguing that allowing biological males to compete in women's categories was unfair. She used the word cheating, and that was enough. Athlete Ally, an LGBTQ sports organization she had worked with for years, removed her from its advisory board the day after her column ran. Activists called her transphobic. LGBTQ media treated her like a traitor. She was called a bigot, a homophobe, a Nazi, a fascist, all because she said biological males should not compete against women. Martina pointed out the craziness of the whole thing at a Title IX rally.
I personally have never been called worse names than I have been called this last few years. Yeah, in the old days, oh, you're a lesbian. That was the worst they got. I'm like, really? Tell me something I don't know. Now it's, oh, you're a homophobe. Go figure. I've been out since '81. Yeah, I'm a homophobe. You're a bigot. You're a transphobe. You're a Nazi. You're a fascist. You're a communist. Everything and everything in between. And this is coming from the left. I am the left.
But she did not back down. She co-founded the Women's Sports Policy Working Group. She kept speaking out. She called on Democrats to grow a spine. In 2025, she said something that made the left even angrier. She said she disagreed with Trump on almost everything. But on the trans issue, Trump was right. And when 45 Democratic senators voted against the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act in March 2025, she went after them too. She singled out Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada and wrote, "Stop spreading propaganda, Democrats." By March 2026, the International Olympics Committee officially ruled that only biological females may compete in women's Olympic events. Martina responded on X, "About time. Thank you for finally paying attention to reality and protecting the female category." Then she added, "The headline is wrong. It's not a transgender ban in women's sports, it's a male ban in women's sports." The same position that got her punished in 2019 is now moving into the mainstream of world sports, thanks in part to Martina. Nick Bosa came into the NFL as one of the best defensive prospects in football. Drafted second overall by the San Francisco 49ers in 2019. Defensive Player of the Year in 2022. A $170 million contract. But early on, he was careful. Before the draft, he deleted pro-Trump social media posts. He also deleted a post calling Colin Kaepernick a clown. When asked why, he basically admitted the obvious. There was a chance he could end up in San Francisco. In other words, he knew the politics. He knew the media environment. He knew supporting Trump could become a problem. Then came October 27, 2024. After a 49ers win over the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, NBC was interviewing some of his teammates. That's when Nick Bosa suddenly walked into the shot, leaned over his teammate's shoulder, and pointed directly at his white and gold MAGA hat.
You guys had scored 6 points in the first half. What was said during halftime? Hey.
NBC reporter Melissa Stark just said,
All right, Nick Bosa with a message there. What was said?
That was it. No speech, no debate. Just a MAGA hat on national television 12 days before Election Day. And the media reaction told you everything. NBC's Sunday Night Football account posted the post-game clip to X that same night with Bosa's hat appearance edited out. Fans noticed immediately. Then, after the internet called it out, NBC reposted the full clip with Bosa included. NBC Universal never officially explained why it was edited in the first place. Because of the hat, the NFL fined Bosa for $11,255 for violating uniform's rules about personal messages. When Bosa was asked about the fine, he did not apologize. He said, "If it comes, it comes. It was well worth it." His mother, Cheryl, posted on Instagram, #Bosa for Trump. And after Trump won, Bosa told reporters it was well worth it. Clearly, the nation spoke. On July 31st, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order reviving the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. And Nick Bosa was on it. Bosa was specifically tasked with advising on college athletics and keeping men out of women's sports. The NFL fined him $11 grand for that hat. A year later, Trump put him on a presidential advisory council. If you ask me, that's a pretty good return on investment. Thank you for watching.